Welcome back to today's episode of Perspective, where we have a semi-final round between two very strong teams. Both teams having gone through the preliminary rounds and quarterfinals and now battling it out for their place in the Perspective final. So just a quick recap. The topic today is based around a statement, which is social media helps students in everyday life. And we have Team Arguably the Best, who are debating against the statement, and we have Team EYC Group 2, who today are debating for the statement. So we had our speeches round just before the break, and we saw some very strong speeches and strong points coming from both teams, and the judges said that they themselves were impressed with what they had heard. So now we entered the second round of today's show, which is the actual debating round, where I'm going to ask both teams to actually debate against each other. How it's going to work is I'm going to ask one team to give an opening statement, and we're going to see how the other team can respond, and we're going to be going back and forth until I call an end to it, and we ask the other team to then start. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to ask Team Arguably the Best if you guys could give your first opening argument/statement, and we'll see how EYC Group 2 can respond.
We believe that social media does have its benefits. However, in terms of being beneficial for students, we believe that it breeds a culture that decentralizes studying and focusing on education. Therefore, people who use social media more often or rely on it for sources of information fall into a category in which that they're demoralized because of the whole culture that social media brings about. That people who spend time on education rather than trying to show off how well their life is going, they don't receive much appraisal from social media. So therefore, a student who bases his or her life off of that is more likely to fall off the path that education would want them to be on. So therefore, we believe that social media serves the distraction and, if anything, a demoralizing object towards education, as it's counterproductive to people who want to do good in their studies, because it's not seen as positive.
Okay, so social media can prove to be a distraction. It doesn't really present those who focus on their study/education in a good light. It's very negative towards those sort of people. Can I ask EYC Group 2 to give a response, please?
That is a good point, but I think that it's up to you how much you want to go on your social media. So if you want to spend all night on it and not think about your homework, then that's alright. You don't want to revise or do whatever education tells you to do. That's your choice. You made the choice not to do it. It's when you said it's kind of like drugs. Like drugs, you can come off it if you want to, and it can be addicting, but it's up to you. It's your own choice. So that's all I.
Josiah, just in terms of what Jayshan said about it demoralizing students, because it presents those who focus on their education in a very negative light, sort of nerds. How would you respond to that? How can you?
So you're not really getting portrayed as nerds, because it's up to what you put on it is completely your choice, and how much you go on it. All of this is up to you. So it's whatever choice you make. You're choosing your own path.
Okay, so Team Arguably the Best, Josiah, is saying it's down to the individual person in how they want to take what they take from social media, how much time they want to spend on social media, so it can change.
It's interesting the use of the word nerds, because you see that's something that's often used for people who tend to focus on their education, especially on platforms like social media, where people find it easier to target and bully on people than in real life. Because when it comes to social media, there isn't that face-to-face aspect where you have a direct impact on the person that you are offending. With social media, it becomes a platform that people find it easier to attack and offend people. For example, I have a statement here that says nearly 43% of kids have been bullied online, and 1 in 4 believe that it has been more than once a repetitive bullying form. Whether this is serious or not, as in whether it is a serious offence or not, it's still shocking that so many people experience these sort of statements online. And to be fair, I think that a large percentage of social media is used by students, in that people in the age group that are students. So the fact that so many kids have been exposed to some sort of bullying in one form or another due to these platforms show that there is a severe lack of safety, if you want to say, on social media. In regards to the statement about nerds, I would say that It only takes one scroll of an Instagram feed or a Facebook feed to see how people represent their lives. People are always in a constant mood to portray their life as something better than it actually is, and therefore you might find that people don't put their education up on social media. It's not something you look to share. It's not something that people say, oh yeah, look, I've got this many A stars in a subject, etc. Let me show it to people. That's not something you'll find very often on social media, and therefore that's the whole social constraint we find against it.
Okay, EYC Group 2, can I ask for a response to that?
About what you said with the nerds, they can get bullied and stuff. There are people you can talk to about bullying, and you can report them to the police. You can do the red flag, and and you can talk to your parents, siblings, teachers, and so on.
Okay, so there are measures in place to deal with those sort of issues on social media. Anush, you're going to respond.
But social media is the biggest platform under which bullying happens. So if you're saying that if bullying can be prevented if you talk to someone, whereas it can be prevented as a whole if social media is restricted and maybe used much less. As in, that's like basically giving someone a cold and treating them for it. As in, if you remove like giving them the cold, then it'll be sorted out by itself.
Okay, so EYC Group 2, would you like to respond to that? As opposed to having to resort to these sort of measures like the red flag and reporting. If you take the problem away right from the start, then you don't have any problems at all.
Yeah, about taking the problem away and like restricting social media, I don't really think that would work because of how many people use it. And if it was such a big problem, it would have been stopped by now. And the problems that used to exist, such as bullying, like you said, have kind of been prevented. They're kind of extinct, like only because they can easily be countered with flags and things like that, and reporting them. If on Facebook, you can easily flag something that you find offensive, and offensive material, there's no way to stop it coming to you. Like in real life, people can talk to you like that, and although it could be easier on social media, it's also easier to counter.
Okay, thank you very much, Josiah. I think Masuma, do you have a response?
About it being extinct, it clearly isn't, because there's 4,400 deaths per year in America caused by cyberbullying. Plus, it doesn't have to be explicit bullying on the internet, it can be implicit. So people, a recent survey found that when someone even simply updates their profile picture, the mood of their peers goes down, and there's fear, anxiety and pressure about what their identity is and how they represent themselves. So it still has a negative effect, even if someone doesn't have to bully in order to have a negative effect.
Okay, thank you very much, Masuma. A very strong statistic used there. I'm going to call an end to that string of debate there. So we had arguably the best give their opening statement for that part. So now I'm going to come to EYC Group 2, and I'm going to ask you guys to do the same. Can you guys please now give one of your opening statements / arguments, and we're going to see how arguably the best can respond.
So although school is not like our everyday lives, it's also a big part of it. So we're in a society today where students are made to stay up in school for up to 6 hours or more, having no right to access any Wi-Fi, as teachers are trying every way for us not to use any social media.
Okay, Jason?
While that may seem harsh now, I think that is a positive, because once you get on to working life, when you get majority of jobs are 9 to 5, they're 8 hours long, not just 6. So preparing now in a circumstance where you can't use Wi-Fi, where you can't be on your phones, in an environment such as school, is good for the future, where you're going to have to become used to working. For example, most people will be in office jobs from 9 to 5, 8 hours without being on your phones, without talking to your friends. It's preparing you for the future life, and that's something that is beneficial, because school isn't just there to teach you subjects that you're taking. It's there to teach you life skills, which you're going to use when you move on from school.
Okay, I think Anush should add on.
People in our parents' generation, they were not exposed to social media when they were young, and like every successful person today you see who is like middle-aged, they didn't have that they weren't restricted for social media because there wasn't social media then. So how can you claim that it's restricting us?
Okay, thank you very much. Arguably the best, a very strong response there. Would you guys like to respond back to that? So I mean, Jason's trying to say that these restrictions, although they might seem harsh, they actually provide very good preparation for the future, where office jobs are going to be restricted anyway.
So you say it's bad that, I mean, it's a good thing that we sometimes don't use social media, but social media gives confidence to those who are shy, and it's a fact that social media can increase student collaboration, leading to higher exponential rates as students become more connected to the institution.
Social media can help boost confidence.
To that I would say that within school hours, where is the need for social media? There isn't much that you can use social media for during lessons, during breaks, etc., because there is no aid that it will provide. Outside of school is a different matter. Perhaps the use of it, I'm not against it. I believe that it is a good platform, but in terms of student benefits and in terms of specifics to students, it isn't something that is required or a necessity during lessons or during lunch breaks, etc.
Okay, Jason, in terms of Luam saying that it can provide a boost in confidence to a student when he comes home from a hard day at school, would you agree that it could provide some sort of confidence boost?
I would agree that social media is very good for people to keep in contact with, especially if you're going through something that's rough or difficult, to have friends to support you with. That is true. However, it goes both ways with that. It might be that you're having a bad day, something's happened at school and you want to get away from it, but once you get home, social media follows you home, and what happened at school is now all over social media. So it goes both ways with that statement.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Anush, did you want to add on?
Yeah, you're saying that it builds confidence, and a big part of confidence is human interaction, and by having social media, it deprives that, and it can have a false sense of confidence. If you might be a completely different person in real life than you are on social media, and hence it does provide it makes you seem false as a person.
Okay, thank you very much, Anush. Now coming back to UIC Group 2, in terms of confidence, it could provide a sense of false confidence. You might think that you're one person in the world of social media, but when it comes to the real world, as Anush said, with human interaction, you're not the same person, and that might prove to be a very difficult situation for you.
I want to start off by countering the point that you said about that we shouldn't have social media in school. Like we use things like Google and things like that, like in school, and teachers have started to adjust their teaching methods to incorporate things like that, and it helps a lot. It clearly helps. But one thing that I cannot say that all of us agree with is that you shouldn't use things like Snapchat and WhatsApp in class. Like we agree with that, but other parts of it should be used in school.
Okay, so coming back to argue with the best, can have benefits in the classroom.
To start with, I just want to point out that Google technically isn't a form of social media, but I would agree that it is useful. But on the subject of social media, Google isn't social media. But with in terms of benefits to learning in class, I'd ask you to open any one of your social media feeds. For example, if you use Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, and you take a scroll through, I want you to see how long it would be before you find any post that has relevance to education, anything that you could take any knowledge from, because the most popular posts and the majority of posts that you will find have nothing to do with education and have nothing to do with anything that's beneficial in classrooms. There's nothing that you can gain from them that you can't gain from sites such as Google, Internet Explorer, but those are technically not social media sites.
Okay, Jason, in terms of it helping education, nowadays on social media you have these short 30 seconds to a minute clips which provide just a brief overview on the news of the week from pages such as AJ+, CNN, and I don't really think a student, we're talking about students here, they will go and pick up the newspaper, so surely these sort of clips are good for them in providing them some knowledge of what's going on in the world at the moment.
Okay, if you're totally honest to yourself, how many people here use CNN and websites such as that in our age group as a use of information, as a use of finding education, finding information? I believe that the real answer to that would be zero to slim to none, because if we're honest to ourselves, we use social media just to talk to our friends and non-related to education.
Okay, thank you very much, Anush. Thank you very much to both teams for this round. We've had a very, very heated debate, some very good points coming from both sides, and I'm sure the judges will be impressed. We're going to be moving on to the judges round next, where the judges will be asking questions to the contestants, but before that we're going to have a very, very short break.